surrounding this play that took place versus the Washington Mystics. When Caitlin Clark hit the logo 3, she talks about the Chicago Sky game in a recent episode of Show Me Something podcast. Now, I like this podcast because both of these people are from my home state of Missouri. And you know I got to support the home team. You guys did not know it. I'm from St. Louis. Sophie Cunningham, I believe, is from Columbia. That's about an hour and a half away. She's right up the highway, bro. That's how close it is. Now, with that being said, we got to get to the meat and potatoes. Sophie Cunningham actually exposed people in the field.
The words left her mouth, and the room froze. Sophie Cunningham just ended her own silence in 5 seconds flat, addressing the suspension rumors that have been tearing the WNBA community apart. For days, the speculation was wild, with fans convinced she was being punished for her on-court antics and her relationship with Caitlin Clark. But when the truth finally started leaking out, it wasn't what anyone expected. The drama didn't just involve a missed game. It involved a deep-seated frustration within the Fever organization that threatened to boil over at any moment. This was the moment the mask slipped.
She's right up the highway, bro. That's how close it is. Now, with that being said, we got to get to the meat and potatoes. Sophie Cunningham actually exposed people in the Fever organization were not happy with the post. Oh, my God. If we could cut ice, we definitely could see that they was not happy with the post. Now, ultimately, Sophie Cunningham did not play yesterday. She's dealing with the elbow injury. Now, I have not watched this thing in its entirety because I like to watch stuff with y'all and react to it with y'all. So I skimmed through some of it. They talked about the Knicks and stuff like that. But I got to the point.
It all started with a meme that set the internet on fire, showing a locker room scene that felt way too real to be fake. People saw Sophie missing from the lineup and immediately jumped to the worst possible conclusion. They didn't see an elbow injury. They saw a player being punished for speaking her mind. The timing was too perfect, coming right after a heated moment on the court involving the league's biggest rising star. When the Fever organization reportedly expressed their unhappiness with a social media post, the suspension narrative became a runaway train that no one could stop.
That's just like a funny meme. Like, I just saw that and like we all thought it was hilarious. Everyone thinks I'm like suspended because of this.
Okay, I didn't want to bring that up, but my group text with all our boys from home, like Sam, Clay, Dave, Bush, Gage, all of them. Sam messaged me yesterday and he was like, Sophie posted a meme and then is questionable for tonight's game. Like, what's going on? Like, ask her on the podcast. And I was like, there's no way this is like up as like weird as the internet people think it is,
dude.
But
it is so like that isn't like, look at our faces and like just how the game went. Like, it was funny. This had nothing to do with anything. And
Sophie finally decided to clear the air on a recent podcast, but her explanation only added fuel to the fire for many skeptics. She admitted that people in the organization were not happy with the post, which is a massive red flag in professional sports. If the front office is cringing at your social media presence, you know there is internal friction. She tried to laugh it off as a funny meme that everyone in her circle thought was hilarious, but the league does not always share that sense of humor. The line between a joke and a locker room scandal is thinner than anyone cares to admit.
We ain't bullshitters, so I'ma just take her word for it, but it still look a little spooky, Sophie. I ain't gonna.
With Sophie and Caitlin like sitting in the locker room, and it's like it's a bunch of word bubbles, and coach says, "You followed the plan, right?" And then Caitlin says, "We may have improvised," and Sophie says, "Oops," and Caitlin says, "Worth it." Oh.
It was just
is that
funny.
AI or is that a real picture?
I think it was actually like a real photo of, because they film after wins and stuff like that, and I think like during it something like that happened. It was just funny. So I also don't own the rights to that photo.
The meme in question featured Sophie and Caitlin Clark in a mock conversation about ignoring the coach's plan. In the image, a coach asks if they followed the plan, and Caitlin responds that they might have improvised, while Sophie simply says, "Oops." While Sophie claims the word bubbles were fake, she confirmed the photo itself was 100% real. This revelation is huge because it proves the vibe in that locker room is exactly as chaotic as fans suspected. They are winning, but they are doing it on their own terms, and that kind of independence often leads to serious consequences behind the scenes.
You're like such a girl. And it's fun to watch like you play basketball because you do the most girly shit ever that like you wouldn't get in the NBA. Like when you like blocked homegirl like a few weeks ago and you like did like this shit and then like eye rolling, like it's just funny because you're like just a sassy girl playing basketball, and like I think it's very fun to watch. So
this one here is about fever.
Thank you.
Grade.
Yeah, I that's a draw for the W if people want
to grade the Fever this year.
What I would grade us right now, I would give us a...
Be honest.
62%.
Well, Caitlin Clark has been the catalyst for so much of this tension, and her recent actions on the court have exposed a major rift. During a critical game against the Washington Mystics, Caitlin was caught on camera repeatedly shouting, "Same play, same play." It looked like a direct challenge to the coaching staff. Fans noticed that Caitlin seemed to have lost all faith in the play calling, and she was not afraid to let everyone know it. When a superstar player starts calling her own shots and ignoring the clipboard, the hierarchy of the team begins to crumble, and someone usually has to pay the price.
I spill pretty much everything on this podcast. That is the exact play we freaking drew up. We literally drew up. And so they just messed up on defense. Like, there was a miscommunication. There was a cross screen. I think Kelsey to either C to Lexi. Yeah, C to Lexi. And they both went with Lexi. So they both do, and it left C wide open. And we were going to C anyway. And so, and of course, like, if someone's open originally, like you give them the ball, like if Kelsey's open to get a layup, yes. If AB was open, but like the play was to go to C.
Here's like my thing with what Sophie's saying.
Sophie tried to defend the coaching staff by saying the play they ran was exactly what was drawn up in the huddle. However, the visual evidence tells a completely different story. In the footage, you can see the confusion on the floor as players move in directions that do not align with a cohesive strategy. Sophie claims it was just a defensive miscommunication by the other team, but the way Caitlin reacted suggests there was a deeper disagreement about the offensive execution. This discrepancy between Sophie's official version and what we saw on the court is where the real mystery lies.
Many people is insinuating when Caitlin says this same play, it's the play from the Washington game. No. It's the same thing. Now watch. Boom. Timeout. Timeout. See? Now this is how it all plays out. Same play. Caitlin going to get in. Boom. Lexi's right there. Caitlin's right there.
The suspension rumors gained even more traction when Sophie was listed as questionable for a game right after the meme went viral. Her own friends were texting her, asking what was going on and why she was suddenly out of the lineup. Sophie insists it was just an elbow injury, but the timing felt spookily convenient. In the world of high-stakes basketball, an injury is often the perfect cover for a cooling-off period when a player and the front office are not seeing eye to eye. Whether it was physical or disciplinary, the result was the same. Sophie was sidelined while the drama peaked.
Yes. See this? Same play. Supposed to have been the same exact gut-wrenching. Now, if Sophie's telling the truth, why didn't they just run the play? Why did that specific play, same designs, go to Kelsey that time? Food for thought, man. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Keep them bells on. Until next time, man. Shake.
There is also the issue of Sophie's sassy playing style, which she addressed with surprising honesty. She mentioned how she gets booed relentlessly every time she makes a play, especially during games against the Liberty. She has been caught on camera rolling her eyes and giving sarcastic looks that drive opposing fans crazy. Some critics have called her behavior unprofessional or even girly, in a derogatory way, but Sophie embraces it. She sees her attitude as a necessary part of her game, a way to stay competitive in a league that is becoming increasingly scrutinized by the public eye. But that sassiness might be exactly what is causing issues within the Fever organization. Sophie admitted that she does the most girly things on the court that you would never see in the NBA, like specific blocks and facial expressions. While some find it entertaining, others see it as a distraction from the fundamental basketball the team needs to play to be successful. When you combine that personality with a player like Caitlin Clark, who is already a lightning rod for attention, you get a locker room environment that is constantly on the verge of an explosion. The balance is incredibly fragile. During the podcast, Sophie was asked to grade the Fever's performance so far this season, and her answer was a blunt reality check. She gave the team a C grade, noting that they have been wildly inconsistent. She claimed that when they click, they are an A+ team, but those moments are few and far between. This honest assessment reveals a lot about the internal frustration. A team with this much talent should not be struggling for a passing grade, and that kind of underachievement usually leads to fingers being pointed at both the players and the coaching staff. The C grade is especially stinging given the hype surrounding Caitlin Clark's arrival. Everyone expected an immediate turnaround, but instead they have seen a team struggling to find its identity. Sophie noted that they have not caught their rhythm yet, which is a polite way of saying the chemistry is off. When you have players improvising on the court and memes circulating about ignoring the coach, it is no wonder the consistency is not there. The shocking truth might simply be that the Indiana Fever are a team divided, struggling to merge old-school coaching with new-age star power. Caitlin Clark's influence cannot be overstated, and her exposing of the team's flaws is becoming a weekly occurrence. Whether it is her body language on the sidelines or her direct comments to her teammates, she is demanding a level of excellence that the team is not always meeting. When Sophie talks about the same play controversy, she is essentially trying to bridge the gap between Caitlin's intensity and the coach's vision, but you cannot ignore the look on the assistant coach's face in the background of that clip. It was a look of pure disbelief as the play unfolded. The assistant coach's reaction is perhaps the most telling piece of evidence in this entire saga. As Caitlin shouted for the same play, the coach looked like he had seen a ghost. It suggests that whatever was happening on the floor was not what was discussed in the huddle. Sophie's attempt to downplay this as a simple mistake does not hold up when you look at the raw emotion of everyone involved. There is a battle for control happening in Indiana, and Sophie Cunningham found herself right in the middle of it, which likely led to the shocking rumors of her forced absence. Sophie also touched on the competition within the league, specifically mentioning Olivia Miles as a beast who could take the Rookie of the Year title. This kind of talk is interesting because it shows where Sophie's head is at. She is looking at the bigger picture of the league while her own team is under a microscope. It is almost as if she is trying to shift the focus away from the drama in her own locker room and onto the talent across the WNBA, but the fans are not letting her off that easily. They want to know exactly what happened during that suspension period. The podcast host did not hold back either, calling Sophie's behavior on the court fun to watch because it is so different from the NBA. He pointed out her sarcastic eye rolls and the way she interacts with opponents as a draw for the league. While this is great for ratings, it is a nightmare for a coach trying to maintain discipline. If Sophie is being celebrated for being a sassy girl playing basketball, it creates a conflict with the professional, locked-in image many teams want to project. This personality clash is likely at the heart of the unhappy comments from the Fever's front office. What is even more wild is Sophie's admission that she spills pretty much everything on her podcast. This kind of transparency is rare and dangerous in pro sports. By talking openly about the miscommunications and the internal reactions to her memes, she is essentially inviting the public into the Fever's private business. It is a bold move that could either build her brand or end her tenure with the team. If the organization was already unhappy with a meme, imagine how they feel about a full breakdown of their tactical failures and locker room vibes being broadcast to thousands. The specific play against Washington that Sophie tried to explain is still a point of massive contention. She claims they drew up a cross screen for Lexi Hull, but the defense messed up, leaving an open lane. However, fans who analyzed the tape saw Caitlin Clark visibly frustrated that the ball did not go where she expected. This exposure of the team's tactical misalignment is exactly why people think there is a rift. If the star player and the veteran forward cannot even agree on what the play was after the fact, how are they supposed to win games in the clutch? Sophie's breaking silence moment felt more like a calculated PR move to some. By addressing the suspension rumors head-on, she hoped to kill the story, but her body language suggested she was holding back the full truth. She kept insisting it was all a big misunderstanding, yet she could not explain why the team was so bothered by her social media presence if it was just a funny meme. In the world of the WNBA where every move is now scrutinized by millions of new fans, these misunderstandings often have very real, very expensive consequences behind the curtain. The internal pressure on the Fever is clearly reaching a breaking point. With a superstar like Caitlin Clark, every loss is magnified and every locker room rumor is treated like breaking news. Sophie Cunningham is a veteran who knows how to handle the media, but even she seemed a bit rattled by how fast the suspension narrative took hold. She realized that her sassy persona has a shelf life if the team is not winning. You can roll your eyes all you want when you are up by 20, but when you are sitting at a C grade, those eye rolls look like a liability. Looking back at the footage of the Liberty game, you can see the toll this is taking on Sophie. She was getting booed every time she touched the ball and the camera was zoomed in on her face, catching every sarcastic smirk. It is a high-pressure environment that requires thick skin, and Sophie definitely has that. But thick skin does not protect you from a front office that wants to clean up the team's image. The shocking suspension might not have been an official league mandate, but it certainly felt like a message was being sent from the people in charge. The relationship between Sophie and Caitlin is also under the microscope. Are they allies against the coaching staff they do not trust, or is there friction between them as well? The meme suggested they were in cahoots, laughing at the plan together. If that is true, it is a nightmare scenario for any coach. A united front of star players ignoring instructions is a recipe for disaster. Sophie's attempt to frame it as just a joke might be her trying to protect her relationship with Caitlin while also smoothing things over with her coach. It is a dangerous game to play. As the season progresses, the truth about what happened during those missing days will likely stay buried under injury reports and PR-friendly podcast episodes. But for the fans who watch the games closely, the evidence is in the interactions. Every time Caitlin shouts, "Same play," and every time Sophie rolls her eyes at a whistle, the real story is being told. The Indiana Fever are a team in transition, and the growing pains are being felt by everyone from the rookies to the veterans. The suspension rumors were just a symptom of a much larger, much more complicated situation. Ultimately, Sophie Cunningham is standing her ground, refusing to be silenced by the critics or the rumors. She is embracing her role as the league's sassy veteran, even if it means taking some heat from the front office. But with Caitlin Clark exposing the tactical flaws of the team every night, Sophie will need to do more than just clear the air. She will need to help lead this team from a C grade to the A+ potential she knows they have. The silence has been broken, but the real work for the Indiana Fever is only